Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good day to all CORENA 2020 participants. Today I'm glad to be sharing a paper entitled Perceived Importance and Level of Satisfaction Toward Institutional Factors in Postgraduate Life. It's a paper presentation by myself and my postgraduate student Muhammad Kichwa. There is intense competition among universities and higher learning institutes to attract and to recruit students to increase the size of their students' population, may it be undergraduate or postgraduate. But the concerns of this paper is on postgraduate student population and how satisfied are the postgraduate students' populations toward the institutional factors of postgraduate life. There are many dimensions of student satisfaction, but most importantly, we should look at satisfaction from the point of view of what they felt about what are important things that they expected from a postgraduate life in a university. So when we talk about student satisfaction, it has far-reaching impact on the students' perspective about their student life in the university, as well on the part of the educational institutions. Student satisfaction would somehow help them to be able to reflect and to introspect the quality of the services that they deliver to students, as well as to ensure the institutional well-being of the university itself. All right. So when we talk about student satisfaction, it has very much intricate relationship with quality of life, quality of students' life. And quality of student life is multifaceted in nature. There are so many dimensions that are involved. It is a nexus of interplay of different factors. Okay, and students should be asked about what kind of experience the institution provides them and what is the level of satisfaction is with their experience according to Sanders and Burton 1996. And students as customers, this is, as I mentioned just now, is very much economic imperative in nature, but somehow if we take care of student satisfaction, as simple as that, we will be able to establish a long-term healthy relationship with our students who become our alumni. All right, and failing to satisfy them would mean that we would be losing prospective students in the future. The findings of the study would help to, as I mentioned earlier, it would help the management to address issues and plannings, to address the issues of decreasing number of postgraduate students, and to identify areas where they could improve. Okay, and the understanding of what are important aspects or expectations about postgraduate life and the actual level of satisfactions about those important aspects would enable to showcase the differential gap between these two, between perception, between expectation and actual reality, right? When these two information is available, then it can be a strong justification for the university to address those issues immediately and to start planning short-term, mid-term, and long-term planning to address postgraduate recruitment issues. Okay, and institutions with higher satisfaction levels would establish higher student retention and graduation rates, lower loan rates, increased alumni contribution. So there are so many benefits and good things that could happen if our student satisfaction is intact. So there are 6 research objectives for the study. So I will elaborate the research objectives from the perspective of research questions in the next slide. So the 6 research objectives have been transformed into research questions. The research questions are as the following. The first one, how do IUM postgraduate students perceive the importance of institutional factors in their postgraduate life? Number 2, what is the level of satisfaction among IUM postgraduate students toward the institutional factors in their postgraduate life? Number 3, what is the differential gap between the scores for perceived importance and level of satisfaction toward the institutional factors of postgraduate life among IUM postgraduate students? Number 4, is there a significant difference between perceived importance and level of satisfaction towards institutional factors of postgraduate life among IUM postgraduate students? Number 5, do the university experience met the expectations of IUM postgraduate students? And finally, would IUM postgraduate students enroll into IUM if they had to do it all over again? As for the methodology, we engaged 2 types of methodology, qualitative and quantitative. We began our research with a preliminary work using qualitative method, using focus group discussions. We had 4 focus group discussions involving 25 informants. The reason why we conducted FGD was to identify possible factors for measuring the quality of the services offered by the university as perceived by students. And the focus was to tease out the salient themes that we can use in the development of the survey instrument to be extended to the established instrument that is Student Satisfaction Inventory of Norbaiduri. The second part of the study, which is the main methodology, we engaged survey questionnaire administered to 293 students. And in the second part, we adopted student satisfaction inventory of Norbaiduri, which measured multifaceted dimensions of student satisfactions. And the instrument itself has gone through a series of evolutions and has been adopted and tested by many studies. The inventory is now widely used by the university. The design was primarily to tap student satisfactions at the undergraduate level. But for this study, we adopted the instrument to measure postgraduate student satisfaction. Okay, this SSI inventory has been used to assess more than 5.6 billion students in more than 2,800 institutions. The internal reliability test performed on all of the constructs resulted in all constructs being reliable, surpassing the minimum requirement of 0.70. The lowest reliability score was recorded for safety and security with 0.738 Cronbach alpha, and the highest being for effectiveness, instructional effectiveness, with a score of 0.955. Now let's move on to the findings. Most of the findings are in the form of descriptive analysis. For research question 1, how do IUM postgraduate students perceive the importance of institutional factors in their postgraduate life? These constructs were measured using 7-point Likert scale ranging from not important at all to very important. If you look at the highest construct measured was for academic advising with a mean score of 6.18, followed by instructional effectiveness, the mean score at 6.09, and IUM characteristics, which is a newly added construct to the instrument with a mean score of 6.09. Across the factors measured, they are all within the important scope, within the important range. Now moving on to research question 2, what is the level of satisfaction among IUM postgraduate students towards the institutional factors in their postgraduate life? The study, alright, this question addresses the same constructs as in the previous research question, but the previous question focused on perceived importance. For the level of satisfaction, which is the actual reality assessed by postgraduate students, academic advising still appeared to be at the highest level, the highest mean score at 5.24. If you compare it to the previous question, research question 1, academic advising score was 6.18. So there is, from our naked eye, there is a different score there, but somehow only a proper statistical test would be able to explain whether there's any significant difference. Right, going at the bottom, safety and security is observed to be having the lowest mean score at 4.28, which fall under neutral. As for research question 3, it looks at the differential gap between the scores for perceived importance and level satisfaction toward institutional factors of the postgraduate life among IUM postgraduate students. In no-limits instrument, this is an important measurement because it will somehow identify if there's any gap between these two scores. The larger the gap, it means that the expectations are not being met. The universities are not meeting the expectations of the students. Okay, so this is the differential gap, which is calculated as the difference between the means of the important and satisfaction scores. This table displays the performance gap of the different constructs, and if you look at the three top highest level of gap, it is observed that safety and security, recruitment and financial aid, and registration effectiveness, these three constructs have the largest performance gap. If we assess it closer, safety and security, the importance of this construct is perceived to be 6.05 on a 7-point scale. But in terms of satisfaction, it has only reached 4.28 on a 7-point scale of satisfaction. Okay, following from there, recruitment and financial aid, the importance of aid assessed by students, perceived by students, is 5.82, and the satisfaction is 4.47. If we go to the bottom of the table, we can see that academic advising has the lowest performance gap or differential gap between satisfaction and importance. So this is a very good signal that the academic advising has somehow met the expectation of the postgraduate students. Research question 4. Are there any significant differences between perceived importance and level of satisfaction towards the institutional factors in postgraduate life among IUM postgraduate students? We measured this question using PET sample t-test. We performed PET sample t-test on all of the 12 constructs, and from the test performed, 11 of the tests emerged significant. This table summarizes the findings for all the 12 PET sample t-tests, and you can see that for pair number 9, it has not reached the significant level. So we can say that safety and security, there is no significant differences between perceived importance and level of satisfaction towards institutional factors among postgraduate students for safety and security measures. Moving on to research question 5, do university experience met the expectations of IUM postgraduate students? So the respondents identified his or her level of expectations using 7-point Likert scale, ranging from 1, much worse than expected, to 7, better than expected. So 1/3 of the respondents, the number is about 97 students, or 33% of the respondents reported that it was about what they expected. Right? It was about what they expected. Additionally, 42%, about 42% of the respondents reported that their experience was quite a bit or much better than they expected. Almost a half, almost a quarter, almost a quarter of the respondents reported that their expectations were not met during their postgraduate life. This table summarizes the level of expectations measured on a 7-point scale, ranging from much worse than I expected to much better than I expected. The overall mean score is 4.33, which fall under about what I expected. But if we look closely, we can see that if we were to total up the percentage from about what I expected to much better than I expected, then the result will be 75%, which indicate that a large majority of the respondents seem to be giving a positive expectations that the institutional factors have met their expectations. This is a very good sign. The final research question is on would IUM postgraduate students enroll into IUM if they had to do it all over again. This is a very interesting research question, and we measured this by asking one item where the respondents identified their answer on a Likert scale ranging from 1, definitely not, to 7, definitely yes. The respondents who reported a 1 who definitely not enroll again into IUM, and respondents who reported 7 would definitely enroll again into IUM. So based on the findings, it emerged that almost 2/3 of the respondents, about 65%, stated that they would choose to enroll again into IUM. In contrast, about 18% reported that they would, maybe or probably not choose to enroll again into IUM. 50 respondents, about 17.1%, stated that they did not know yet. So there's ambivalent there. So, but if we look at the major highlight of the finding, 65% of the respondents said that they would do it all over again, enrolling into IUM. So this is a summary of the findings for IUM postgraduate students on whether they would choose to enroll again if they had to do it all over again. So if you look at the distribution of the findings, it is bottom heavy, which is more geared towards positive responses, right from maybe yes, probably yes to definitely yes, which accumulated to about 65%. As for the discussion and conclusion, in the study we have measured student satisfaction using Noel Lewitt's SSI, or student satisfaction instrument, which have different levels or multifaceted dimensions to measure campus life. Conventionally, it was mainly used to measure campus life or campus experience at the undergraduate level, but for this study, we have adopted the instrument to measure postgraduate life. This is because postgraduate life in this university has seen decreasing number of enrollment, so thereby warrants further investigation on what areas that need to be improved in order to increase the visibility of IUM internationally and to be competitive to attract potential postgraduate students. So the study involved 293 postgraduate students from 12 different kuliahs, and that number is about 6% of the postgraduate student populations of IUM, and it was found that academic advising is the most important factor and also perceived satisfactorily by postgraduate students.